Welcome back in. It is week 10 Sunday morning. Getting you guys ready for your start sets of the week, and it is a lot to get through. We were just talking about some of the situations going on before we started with the Nico Collins situation and the Tyreek Hill situations. Kind of frustrating, especially the Nico one. I'm sure we'll get into it, but let's get to first things first. Some of the injuries, and just in case anybody was wondering, we've already got Drake London, Christian McCaffrey, Debo, Brian Thomas, Gabe Davis, Tank Dell, and Gus Edwards, and Tyler Conklin are all active. Questionable are the Nico Collins, Tyreek Hill, Jalen McMillan, and Amari Cooper. All of them are more game time decisions. And then inactive, we have Brian Robinson, Chris Olave, Michael Pittman, Dak, who was placed on IR, along with Chris Olave, Darius Slayton, Mike Evans, Keon Coleman, Trevor Lawrence, and Adam Thielen was not activated. So those are your injuries right now. The ones obviously we're monitoring are all four of these wide receivers. Three of the four. Obviously, Jalen McMillan's not as big of a deal, but anyways, we got a lot to get through. So let's just get to the questions. Michael Brown, pick a wide receiver and a tight end. Wide receivers are Ladd, Marvin Harrison, Brian Thomas, or DJ Moore, and then Ingram or Pitts, full PPR.
Oh. I actually think Ladd is probably your safest option, to be honest. Like, DJ Moore has been really up and down. It's between Ladd and DJ Moore for me. Man. DJ Moore is also a player I've just never gotten right. So I think I would go Ladd. And then I'm going to go Pitts.
I'm going to go Brian Thomas and Pitts. I don't really love playing. You know what? I'm going to go Marvin Harrison. I'm going to go Marvin Harrison and Ingram. It's tough to say with Trevor Lawrence out when you have Mac Jones starting a quarterback, how this is going to play out. Obviously, it's a very good defense, but I feel a little bit better about Ingram than I do Brian Thomas situation. And then I'm going to go with Marvin Harrison. So, because I definitely don't want to play both two Jaguars in my lineup in this situation here. So I think, I'm going to go there. And then Michael, morning guys, half-point PPR, Dobbins, Monty, Downs, or Pickens in the flex. My goodness. Because I really like most of these guys.
Uh-huh.
I'm gonna go with man.
What were you about to say? Or were you just hoping the answer came to you before you said it?
I was gonna say George Pickens, but I also love Josh Downs. Like, it's a great schematic matchup for him. The Bills is where you get them, is in the slot, and obviously Josh Downs is the primary slot wide receiver, and then you don't have Michael Pittman, so that just kind of helps him out even more. So, but I also love the matchup for J.K. Dobbins as well. So, I'm gonna go with Pickens.
Yeah, I'm with you. I would just put all those names in a hat and just pick one out.
Here's what I'll say. I think Pickens has the higher ceiling. Like, I think Pickens could, has a 30-point upside, especially in this matchup against the Commanders. I know the Commanders, if you kind of look on the surface level and just say, oh, well, their defense is playing much better. But if you also just look at the matchups that they've had a lot of really easy, really favorable matchups. But in any time they've played like good offenses, they've almost allowed 30 points per game. So like that's why I like George Pickens so much today, and he's such a great fit for Russell Wilson and everything Russell Wilson does. But at the same time, like I said, Josh Downs I think has a safer floor because I think it's possible Josh Downs sees 10, 12 targets today, especially in the situation they're going against the Bills. Matchup is there. So I think if you're just looking for a safer floor, I think it's definitely Josh Downs. But if you're looking for a higher ceiling output, I think it's George Pickens.
Yeah.
And then Dobbins, Brian Thomas Jr., Downs, or Rashid White. Rashad White, Rashid. What are we doing?
Going Downs.
Yeah, agreed. Michael again, Darnold or Mahomes. It's going to be Darnold for me.
Yeah.
And then it's going to be Pickens for me.
Yep.
Dowdle, Cooper, or Rashad White.
I'm going to go Downs again.
Let's go, Tyrone Tracy. Make me nervous. It's like, this is such a great matchup. Why are we not smashing? Just ripped off a 32-yard touchdown.
Nice.
I'm gonna go Downs here. Are we just whittling this thing down? Because it's like to say, this is gonna be McConkey.
Yeah, it's gonna be live for me.
And then Ramondre.
Ooh. I'm gonna go Rashad White here, and I have PPR.
Yvette, PPR need 2.
Nice.
Shepard, Tipton, or Westbrook. This is where we're at for this right now. I feel it. Feel your pain. It's going to be Shepard and
I'm gonna sit Tipton.
I'm gonna go.
NWI just keeps finding the end zone somehow every freaking game.
Yeah, what has he scored like 4 in a row or something? With being PPR, I think I'm going to go with Shepard and Tipton. I mean, they have quite literally nobody else to throw the ball to. Like, it is an absolute dumpster fire in terms like Rashid Shaheed, Olave. I mean, everybody's on IR or hurt. So I feel like in a PPR, I it may not be sexy. It could be 6 for 30, but I think he just has a little bit. I think he's a little bit safer of an option. EC, please rank PPR flex options. Mason, Tipton, Parker Washington, take Bigsby or Mike Williams. It's going to be Parker Washington 1, Tipton 2, Bigsby 3, and then Mike Williams 4.
Just because it's PPR, I would put Mike Williams ahead of Tank.
I just don't know what to expect. I know he's playing, Mike Williams is, but I have no idea what to think here with this.
It sounds like that they are at least working him in as a red zone option. Like that's kind of, which is, I guess I get from the standpoint of him just being like a bigger bodied guy, but seems like at least early on they are installing like red zone, end zone type plays for him. And obviously if the Jags get boat raced here, Tank Bigsby just becomes a 0 in your lineup.
That's fair. Yeah, I think it's a fair point. 808 morning. You think Nico playing today? And if so, who does he replace? Sutton or Addison? So this is what I was talking about. So this is like one of the weirdest situations that I could personally remember as far as how this has played out. Because if you would have asked me on Friday, I would have said he's not playing because they didn't get him back until Friday. I don't know why they waited so long to bring him. I opened up a 21-day window because all reports were by everybody. Aaron Wilson is one of the guys that I trust the most when it comes to the Texans. And basically it said that he is ready to go. When it came Wednesday, he passed every single test, that he looked like he was ready to go. And then he didn't they didn't put him out there until Friday. And with that, I was like, well, I just don't think he's going to play because, you're really bringing this guy back, after he's been out for a month after one practice. And then all of a sudden he gets activated on Saturday, but then he was questionable and it's going to be a game time decision. And I'm like, why are we bringing him back? Like, it just makes no sense to me, like, at this point, because, like, why would he be questionable? Like, if you're like, you don't have to activate him. Like, why are we activating him and then saying he's game time? So I don't know if this is some sort of like gamesmanship by the Texans of trying, like, because this is what NFL teams do, and they try to get one up on somebody. because it really doesn't make any sense. But I will say that shout out Scott Barrett that he was talking on a show yesterday that he reached out to some Texans beat writers and their initial read was he wasn't going to play this week, but apparently Nico Collins was pissed and throwing a massive fit, I guess, just like it was pissed off, and that's why they activated him. So I don't know if he's done enough to like get them to change their mind. But I don't know. And so at this point, I think it really comes down to like, what are your other options? Do you have safer options to be able to sit with him? Because if he plays, I mean, he's a top 5 wide receiver this week. It's a great matchup. Obviously, he's like the key. He's like the skeleton key of this offense. Yes. And like, so like, it's hard to say like, oh, I'm just going to sit him. Like, this isn't a different situation where he's like, would be like a low end wide receiver 2 or something like that. You're like, I'll just, just wait it out. But this is not that situation. So I think it ultimately comes down to your risk tolerance. How are you feeling? Like, especially if you're someone like, let's say, you had Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase or Lamar Jackson or any of those guys that went off and you feel really comfortable with your lead, you can withstand. If he doesn't play and maybe you have to throw in like a Robert Woods or something like that in your lineup, then you're fine. But if not, and you're not in that situation, then maybe you just play the safer route. Because unless we hear something between now and noon or 3 o'clock, it's tough to trust the situation.
Yeah.
And then he has, Sutton or Addison here.
I'd be sitting Sutton.
Yeah, I mean, I would play Nico over all of them without hesitation. But the thing that sucks is both these games are at noon. So, I guess 808. Do you have another ability to pick up like I think Robert Woods makes the most sense of who I would add as a stash in case Nico doesn't play. But I think everything we just laid out is kind of like what you need to ask yourself, like, because this isn't a great matchup for Sutton. The Chiefs have done a really good job against like outside wide receivers and shutting them down. They typically will look to take somebody out, and I mean, there's nobody in the Denver passing game that you're even worried about outside of Courtland Sutton. So that worries me for Courtland Sutton quite a bit in this matchup. Addison is at a good spot, but can the Jaguars do enough to push them? So I think I would probably sit Sutton if it was me and play Nico. But again, it all depends on what your other options are and if you have the ability to stash somebody in the event that Nico doesn't get activated or doesn't play, excuse me.
Or even look to the Monday night game and see if somebody like Demarcus Robinson.
Yeah, if Demarcus Robinson's sitting out there, yes, he would be the number 1 guy I'd want to target there in that situation. But and then we haven't even talked about, I mean, Tyreek Hill is also questionable, though I think I posted on his Instagram or something yesterday that basically like he's ready to go and all this stuff. Like he didn't say like I'm playing, but basically said, they were taking off. Like it made it sound like that he's like gonna play. But
it's also so weird, like on all this injury stuff, like we had like a bunch of like we had like a group of like practice injuries at one point, and then we had a group of like wide receiver hammy injuries, and now we have this weird cluster of like wide receiver wrist injuries too. Keon, Cooper, Tyreek, like just been such a weird week. I mean, such a weird year with
Cooper was just ruled out.
Yikes.
So I will say that is a big time boost for like Shakir and Dalton Kincaid. Like you feel really good about those guys now.
Yeah. Damn it, I'm gonna have to make a Shakir lineup.
I know, like that now, because like normally that's what I hate about playing Josh Allen in DFS, is because like who you stack him with now, it becomes pretty obvious who you stack him with.
Yeah.
Karn, trade Madison and McMillan for Javonte. No. I mean, need to start a running back this week.
Yeah, I guess it's fine.
I mean, does it go through this week? Like, how would it go through already? Like, it just, I mean, you get immediate after someone's traded? Or you're talking about the following week? If that's the case, I still wouldn't do it, but I don't know. Also, drop McMillan, but I would not want to do that. That Denver backfield is looking more and more like a 3-headed backfield, which is just super frustrating, and it's already gross because none of them have really done well. So, like, I don't really want any part of that situation. Also, drop McMillan or Pearsall to add a running back to the lineup.
Probably McMillan.
Yeah. I don't want to drop Pearsall. I think there's a real chance that he continue to be more and more involved.
It ends up being the 2.
Moody or Jason Sanders for Terry. This is going to be Moody for me.
Sure.
Or my guy, Austin Seibert, out this week. Hate to see it.
I know.
To see it.
I've been loving him. My one dynasty league where I picked him up. I didn't drop him though. Couldn't drop him. I just put him. It's one of the leagues where you can put out players in IR, so I just slid him down to IR, and then I picked up Cardi B.
Yeah. EC PPR Jonnu Smith or Hunter Henry. This is Hunter Henry for me.
Yes.
And then Terry Mooney or Calvin Ridley full PPR. This is going to be Mooney.
Yeah.
Rupp, how's it going, guys? I'm hoping Nico plays today. Also, Vikings or Chargers. This is easily Chargers defense, especially with Will Levis starting. Like, all in on Chargers. Don't get me wrong, Vikings aren't a bad play, but at least we know that like Mac Jones like has the ability to be like serviceable. Like he's done it in the past. This is something I was looking at like on the DFS slate for him.
Yeah,
like,
I guess.
I mean, like 2022, like which I know that was a little bit ago, but like I mean, he had like 3 or 4 games with 300 plus passing yards, and like I don't know. I think both of them are good plays, but I just lean to Chargers. I think it's safer. And yes, I hope Nico plays as well, because if not, I think the Texans are just going to get absolutely boat raced. Daryl, hey guys, good morning. With Nico being a game time decision, should I start Devonta Smith and Dalton or Evan Ingram at tight end?
Yeah, I mean, obviously Devonta Smith is a fine. That's a fine pivot. So that's one I probably wouldn't mess around with. I'd probably just throw Smitty in there, and then I think so. Dalton Kincaid obviously has the much wider range of outcomes. So if I'm swinging for ceiling, I'm going to go Dalton. But if you just want safe points, I would go Ingram.
Yeah, I think I would go Kincaid with all the news. And we saw 10 targets last week. I would go Kincaid over Ingram.
And now Coleman out as well.
Yeah. Also, Seibert is out. Pouring out for the homie. You guys think Group A should be good today? I got him off waivers. I don't mind him. I think he's like a borderline top 12 kicker this week. Just really concerned like how explosive, how good can this offense be with so many players out of this offense? Like, are they going to be able to move the ball? The Falcons are actually better against the run than they are the pass slightly. Like, I don't hate it, but I will say that like kickers I like more that are pretty widely available are guys like Jake Moody, who's a top 5 kicker this week. Chris Boswell, I think, is a better option than he is if he's available. Tyler Bass, I think, is also rostered less than 50 or was rostered less than 50% of leagues. I think Chad Ryland for the Cardinals is also a really sneaky play at home against the Jets. But I don't mind playing Group A. It's just there's a lot to be concerned with because like the things we care about most when it comes to kickers is, you know, like third down conversion rate, implied team totals for the week, which all aren't great because it's a harder path to see New Orleans being able to keep this going and being able to actually put up points. And that's what's concerning with someone like Group A. But I don't mind him. I think he's still a decent play. Kincaid or Mostert in the flex from Christopher. This is easily Kincaid for me.
Yep.
Cooper or McConkey. This one's already decided for you, Michael, because Cooper is out. Should I drop Denver DST to add Benson or Corum? Team Hurts, AJ Brown, Debo, Kyron, Connor, Auten, Moody, Casey, DST, bench is Walker, Chubb, JSN, Ridley, Ferg, Bucky, Denver D. Yeah, I'm fine with that. I
I would go Corum.
Yeah.
I just feel like even if Connor went down, I don't think that's going to be all Benson. Like I think Amari DiMercado would get some run, whereas I could see that being, 70% touch for Corum. Let's go. Sorry, I took Chuba Hubbard anytime touchdown live, like plus 250. So it's nice.
Things you love to see. I think you're right. I think that makes the most sense. I mean, we know the role that Corum would step into if he went down, so I think that makes sense. I'm actually surprised though that James Conner hasn't missed a game yet through this part of the season. It's just he
He's
ends up
starting to like go over the sideline a little bit more though. He's like starting to get banged up and miss some time during the game.
Yeah. Connor, full PPR, pick one. Jake Ferguson, Rico Tolbert, Rome, or Pearsall. This is going to be Rome Odunze. I think he's really starting to become his team's wide receiver one.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Rome there as well.
Should I pick up and start Alec Pierce or AD Mitchell, full PPR? Thanks, guys. Or I can pick up Tipton. This is going to be AD Mitchell for me.
I would take the swing on Mitchell. Yeah.
The only thing I'll say, but this really affects both of those guys, Alec Pierce and Mitchell. It really depends on how they use them. Because if they just ask him to go out and be a go route wide receiver and they're just going to send him down the field, I don't love this for AD Mitchell. But with Michael Pittman out, if they are willing to utilize him more in a full complement of like a route tree, then AD Mitchell, because like we've heard a ton from like Reggie Wayne, and they're talking about him and like how explosive he is, how much separation he gets, and he's shocked by and which lines up because if you go look at like Fantasy Points data suite at their separation score, he's number one. He's the number one wide receiver in separation, and so like I'm just curious how they decide to utilize him. But with Michael Pittman out, like I think this is a shot where we could see 6-7 targets for him today. So I think AD Mitchell's a really sneaky play, but just understand there's some volatility there because depending on how they decide to deploy him. Morning, Robert. My other wide receivers: London, Sutton, Addison, and Jennings.
Yeah, that San Fran game's a 1:00 game too, as well, though, right?
Yeah.
So I asked what was available on waivers. Threw out these names. I mean, obviously, you still want to hold on to Nico as much as possible, and then available for Monday be OBJ, Atwell, Whittington, Johnson, and Malik. So no Demarcus Robinson, it appears.
And there's so well, I mean, none of these names are guys that you can. I mean, I would assume Robert Woods is available. So that's what I would do if it was me. Yeah, I think that's what I would do.
I'm with you.
Derek, Connor, Eckler, or Debo. It's gonna be Debo for me.
Debo, baby.
And then trade Ferguson for Pitts. Yep, I'm cool with that.
Yep.
Yeah, Giants making Bryce Young. I will say this, and as somebody who has been a full-on Bryce Young skeptic and hater, if you will,
some might say.
Yeah. And I will say he has the last couple of games actually looked way better. So maybe he has kind of figured it out. Maybe that little binging helped him and kind of reset and everything. Maybe gain some confidence back. Because I will say that he has looked better. Now the matchups haven't been anything like spectacular either, but still, even in what should have been great matchups for him prior to this, he still looked terrible. So I will definitely give credit where credit is due. That he has definitely, and hopefully maybe he's turned the corner a little bit, and maybe he's starting to figure things out. So we'll see how well this continues and if he's able to keep this going. But at the very least, we're seeing some encouraging signs. What do I do about Tyreek at full PPR? Currently have him in the flex. Will play Dobbins instead, or try to trade Mooney for Waddle in case. What to do?
It seems like he's like Kev, like you were saying, like with the stuff he was posting, like it seems like he's going to be okay. I mean, Tyreek is someone who will play through injuries. So I think he's going to be fine. Worst case scenario, I mean, I'm sure Odell will be available in your league. It's like if worse comes to worse, just throw him in. I will say make sure you put Tyreek in your flex spot so you have more flexibility, I guess, to switch him out if you need to.
Yeah, I agree. Oh, we already got that. You know why I'm here? CHB, so you don't get fined or what? EC, I agree. Take bad matchup. Mike Will, new team. Can't decide between Tipton or Parker Washington, though. Mac Jones scares me. Will he spread the ball around? Tipton probably won't lead targets, but is he the wide receiver one? Like, I don't know if he's the wide receiver one, but one thing I'll say with Parker Washington, you get a little bit of the narrative of
the backup narrative.
Yeah, where he would have been practicing with him on the practice squad and everything else. So you do have that where they've probably been building a rapport this entire time. And it does typically come to fruition. Like we see this time and time again, where all of a sudden this backup wide receiver has a good game with them because of the situation. So Parker Washington would be the guy that I would go with out of all those names.
Yeah, I agree. Penn State, great.
EC, Adonai Mitchell over Tipton and Washington, yes. I would go Adonai over all of them.
Yeah, sorry. I was trying to think who Washington was, but we got it.
Bench Chuba over J.K. Dobbins this week.
Things you hate to see on a Sunday morning at 9:30.
Yeah, but who knows? Maybe Dobbins could go out and, I mean, because Dobbins is still in a really good spot too. So, like, this isn't, like, terrible news for, it's not like, yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. Chuba's having another really strong game today. What is he at now? 21, I think. Last I saw. Yeah, 21.9, I think. Something like that. Anyways, it's not insurmountable. Obviously, would have loved to have played Chuba, but I get it.
The league where I'm going up against him, he has 25.8.
Huh.
And that doesn't seems to be pretty standard. No points for like first downs or point per carry or anything. $138 and a score, 2 catches for 11.
Yeah, that adds up. Yeah, that's
I think this might be 0.75 for a running back reception. I think this league has like tiered points for catches. Like I think tight end is full, running back is 0.75 for a catch, and then wide receiver is 0.5, I think. But still, that's not going to cause a huge swing if you're, in a half versus a standard or a full, because it's only 2 for 11.
Yeah. Picked up Shakir on waivers, play him over McConkey. I would, yes.
Yeah.
Is Tyreek Hill going to play? I think he does. I think that he's going to play.
I think so as well. Yeah. Hate the coach speak coming out though, where he was saying like he's not optimistic or pessimistic, and that he's going to try his best to play. So those kind of quotes don't make you feel great. But the good news is you can throw Tyreek in your flex and then look to pick up. I mean, even like if you put him in your flex, maybe even somebody like a Jonnu. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I'd probably rather play Jonnu Smith over Odell. So just make sure Tyreek's in your flex so you have some more options to pick guys up and play them if you have to.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think actually John is actually a pretty good call too. He didn't even consider him, but yeah, his flex. Or Odell becomes if Tyreek were to miss. I mean, I don't think that he misses, but I think if I had to choose between him or Nico, which one is more likely to play, I think it's Tyreek. But
it seems that way.
If I have other options like Najee or Kareem Hunt, should I play them over Hill or not?
I'm curious, who else are you playing at running back that Najee isn't in your lineup right now? But I mean, I still think I would just keep Tyreek in the flex, and then if you have to, pivot to like Jonnu Smith.
Yeah, I think I agree with you.
Well, that's why.
Kyron and Tyrone, Tracy.
That would be a good reason why.
Yeah. Like I said, I feel way better or more confident that Tyreek Hill plays than someone like Nico Collins this week. But it is frustrating because both these games are prime time and they're yeah.
Won't have any indication until it's too late. But Bobby, like, is somebody like, Demarcus Robinson, Jonnu Smith, or players like that available? And I would just put Tyreek in my flex and then pivot if you have to.
Yeah. Keep waiting to see if we get any news, but I don't think we're gonna get anything on Nico Collins. But I will say, just like as far as this week is concerned, like something I try to do if I can, right before like obviously the week gets going or today gets going, is identifying some players that should be rostered in more leagues before ahead of waivers. And I think one name that stands out above everybody else for me is Jalen Wright. Raheem Mostert continues to not look good at all, and he's a much older, aging running back. He's fumbled, and I think, especially with where the Dolphins are heading, there's a real possibility that Jalen Wright could. Now, don't get me wrong, Devon Achane is still there. Devon Achane is going to continue to eat, but I think that there's a possibility that Jalen Wright comes in and start playing and being that number 2 running back ahead of Raheem Mostert. I think it would be smart for them to see what they have in him, but he looks far more explosive than Raheem Mostert does at this point. So like I have Jalen Wright stashed. I went out and actually added him yesterday because he's sitting out there and he is for most leagues. I think someone like him and Adonai Mitchell, I think, are 2 really smart stashes if you can on your bench, because with Michael Pittman's not just dealing with a hand or a finger injury. He's dealing with his back injury that has continued to, in my mind, they should have placed him on IR. Because if you remember when it all happened, whenever at first, like 4 weeks ago, whatever it was, 3 or 4 weeks ago, it was, Michael Pittman's dealing with a back injury. It sounds like they're going to be putting him on IR. And all so everyone was expecting him to be out for 4 weeks, and then all of a sudden he decided he's going to try to play through it, and he just hasn't looked right at all. Like he hasn't looked like Michael Pittman whatsoever. And so I do think there's a scenario where it turns into something like that, but because I don't think just 1 week is going to heal him. But so Adonai Mitchell could be the other guy because like these rookie wide receivers, I think him, Ricky Pearsall is another one, are guys that I think over the second half of the season that could really break out in a big way. And so like trying to get ahead of waivers, like if you have players that you're not planning on playing this week that aren't, that maybe that you can, drop, I would be looking to add players like that ahead of today to get ahead of waivers instead of having to wait until waivers and all of a sudden you're trying to make these decisions. So I think players like that are make a lot of sense to add.
Yeah.
So.
And then handcuff running backs as well is another spot to look. Like you said, ahead of waivers, just in case something were to happen.
Yeah. I mean, those would be guys like Braylon Allen, who, I mean, Braylon Allen's rostered like 32% of leagues. Corum, Trey Benson, I think are all real viable options. Audric Estime could be one, but like, I don't know. It just feels gross. Like that whole entire running back room is gross. Roschon Johnson now, especially with Khalil Herbert traded, I think that he squarely enters that conversation when we've seen how well DeAndre Swift has played. And now there's no concern. Like, because I think that was some people's hesitation because he was still there. That like, okay, if DeAndre Swift went down, would Khalil Herbert just, be elevated ahead of him? But now we don't have that concern anymore. And Roschon's only rostered 11% of leagues. I think he's another player that definitely should be rostered way more leagues than that. So I think those are the kind of the guys that I would be looking at.
Yeah, the Herbert's a really good call. He's someone who just hasn't even been on my mind because he's been a healthy scratch for the past several weeks. But that's a really good call.
Yeah. So, anyways, we just when I was about to. Jalen, I know this is a start sit show, but would you guys accept trade? This is not just a start sit show. This is a answer your question show. But yes, Devonta Smith for Jaden Reed, full PPR. I think I would do it. I think I would do that.
Sorry, I just got an alert that there was motion at my back door, but I didn't see my wife's car, and then I heard the door open, so I freaked out for a second. Man. Kev, do you know I know you just did the buy sell. What do this one's close enough for me that I would look to like strength of schedule for the rest of the year. You know what I mean? Do you remember coming across anything for Green Bay or Philly? Because I think Reed is probably safe as your safer option, but they spread the ball around so much. I know a lot of people like are clinging on to the beginning of the year start for Jaden Reed, but like I think we also have to keep in the back of our mind that he was like 2 touchdowns on 4 touches was just not sustainable. Let's see.
The Packers have the 5th easiest fantasy playoff schedule. Right now. But I will say though, the Eagles have also just their remaining schedule is phenomenal. Phillies are the Phillies. The Philly is 18th in terms of their week 15 through 17 schedule.
That is the Steelers, Commanders, and Cowboys.
Yeah. I will say in terms of buy sell, it's not because you're probably not going to be pulling off a trade with that an hour left. But some players that I really do love as buy sells, I think C.J. Stroud is definitely one of them. He's quarterback 21 overall in fantasy points per game. Their rest of season schedule after this week is really good. They get the Jags, Titans, Cowboys, Dolphins, Chiefs, and Ravens. All but one of those are top 20 matchups. And 4 of them are actually top 12 matchups for C.J. Stroud. Obviously, Nico Collins is huge with getting him back. With Nico Collins to start the year, he was the QB 13, averaging 18 fantasy points per game. Without him, he's been the QB 26, averaging 22 fantasy points per game, 12 fantasy points per game. I just think some other running backs really good matchups, especially playoff scheduling. Because this is now the time to start worrying about those things. I think Aaron Jones is 100% one of those guys. They get a really good playoff schedule with the Bears, Seahawks, and Packers over the last 3 games for them. This is a player that's averaging 70% of the opportunities from this backfield. I think James Conner, or you can also include Trey Benson into that, but Conner's the RB22. But he is now starting to get more involved in the passing game, but he's been reliable as well, scoring 14 or more PPR points in every game but 2. He also ranks 5th in red zone touches and 1st in evaded tackles, but they have the easiest playoff schedule against the Panthers, Patriots, and Rams. So I really want to buy as many Cardinals as I can because that schedule is awesome for whatever we're talking about. But James Conner, I think, and Trey Benson are both in play. Brian Robinson, I think you could also look at him as well. He obviously is out this week, so his value is not going to change. But the rest of the season, the Commanders running backs do have 2 tough matchups coming up against the Steelers and Eagles. But then after that, you get the Cowboys, Titans, Saints, and Falcons with the Eagles wedged in between there. But so I think Brian Robinson is just more of a safer option as well. He has been a top 24 running back in almost every single game that he's played in this year. So I do like that. A wide receiver, if you're looking at DK Metcalf, especially they're on bye this week, but he's expected to return after that. But their schedule, they have the 11th easiest playoff schedule with matchup against the Packers, Vikings, and Bears in the fantasy playoffs. But I do think that DK Metcalf is a definite buy for me. I also think George Pickens doesn't get the roses that he deserves right now. But George Pickens has actually been on like a efficiency basis, has been phenomenal, seeing a 28% target share. And then he is also seeing a 43% market share of the air yards. He's also 7th in deep targets and 5th in red zone targets. But he is actually ranks 8th in yards per route run, 6th in yards per team pass attempt. They also have the 12th easiest schedule during the fantasy playoffs as well. So and the 4th easiest remaining schedule overall. So I think George Pickens is a definite buy. Jacoby Myers is the other one. Myers is the 8th easiest fantasy playoff schedule with matchup against the Falcons, Jags, and Saints for Jacoby Myers. And I think he's going to continue to see a really solid target share every single game. They have made some changes with this offense, firing Luke Getsy, who should never have been the offensive coordinator. But they brought in Scott Turner as well as old man Norv Turner as well. So I think those are all guys you could look at as buys as well. So just wanted to mention that ahead of this week as players we could probably take a look at. And I'll be putting out probably a full video this week on some of this stuff. And then Tingley with Cybert out, forward out. Moody, Cardi, or Bates is going to be Moody for me.
Okay.
BTJ or DJ Moore. It's going to be Brian Thomas for me. This DJ Moore situation is a mess.
Probably still go DJ Moore, but I get it. It's not great.
McMillan or DeMarcus Robinson PPR. Jones is tanking neighbors today. McMillan, Bourne, or DeMarcus Robinson.
It's going to be DeMarcus for me. I would just take the swing on him.
Yeah,
Never feels good chasing a 2 TD performance, but we saw DeMarcus Robinson at the end of last year really come on in the last several weeks. I think this could be, assuming that Tyreek Hill plays, this should be a pretty fantasy-friendly game. So it could open up looks for DeMarcus. Neighbors to the tent. Then from Harry, BTJ, Mooney, or Tank Dell. I'm going Mooney there.
Man. I think I go take Dell. I may end up regretting that, though.
I think Mooney's the safest option. He's also shown a ceiling. A really nice matchup. Obviously, no Lattimore. Kool-Aid also out. So I'm going Mooney.
Yeah.
Sit one for Ashton, Shepard, Parker Washington, or McLeod.
It's Parker Washington for me.
I'm going to sit Ray.
Oh, sit one. Yeah. Yeah, I probably agree.
Then Juan, who would you drop off the bench for a defense? Wandell, Myers, Madison, Mayfield, ETN, or Downs. Still got DJ Moore, Jefferson, Mooney, RBs, Hall, Kyron, Walker, then Darnold and Baker at QB.
Can you drop Wandell? I mean, I would assume you can't drop Wandell, can you? He's playing. Unless it's for next week, but
It would be Madison. I mean, I think you can drop Baker as well with having Darnold, but Madison would be at the top of my list there. Definitely not dropping Downs, regardless of Pittman's status. Downs has just been #good this year. So be Madison and Mayfield.
yeah. And I'm not sitting at all or any or dropping Josh Downs. Josh Downs has been the man. And then which defense? Bears, Lions, Rams, Broncos, Cardinals, or Patriots? I'm going to go with the Patriots. Fuck you, Daniel Jones. Stealing a fucking touchdown from Tyrone Tracy. Anyway.
Yeah. I'm going to go Pats. Then we need a wide receiver 2 and a flex for 1. More ETN, Downs, Mooney, Myers, Walker, Madison on bye.
I'm going to go Josh Downs and Mooney.
Yep. I agree. J2 Nice, good to see you back in here. Stevenson or Mooney? I'm going Mooney.
That's so close because we've been seeing Stevenson get back to being like the workhorse back in this backfield, and the Bears have actually really been really bad against the run. I think I'm going to go Stevenson here. It's close because I really like Darnell Mooney a lot this week as well. Top 20 wide receiver play, but I think I lean Stevenson.
12-team half PPR for Eric, Hawkinson, or Laporta. I'm going to go Hawk. I just don't know what to expect from this Lions offense. I'd feel better about it if Williams were out, but that's not the case, so I think I would just go Hawk. They seem like they were trying to get him involved early in his first game back. I think it was like 60% route share. Obviously, you would expect that to go up his second week back from his injury, so I'm going to go Hawk.
I think I would go Laporta, but I could see it for sure. I think it's close. Especially with Jameson Williams back and everything for the Lions. I think you could make a case, but it just game script concerns me because if they get up ahead, I don't know how much they even put Hawkinson out there, in a game where they have well in their wraps. That's the only thing that would concern me with that.
Tua or Kirk?
It's going to be Kirk for me.
I agree. Nico, Dobbins, Hunt, D-Hop for Ernie.
Oh, man.
Chiefs are an early game, right?
Yep. We play at noon. Like, I really want to say Nico Collins. Like, but I don't know if we've got any. I don't think there's been any update or indication since the last.
I would go Nico, and then hope we hear something by the 4:00 game, and then you can make a pivot to Dobbins if you have to. Or again, like we've been talking about a lot with between him and Tyreek, see if there's somebody available on waivers that you might be able to pivot to. Jonnu, Demarcus Robinson, Robert Woods, somebody like that.
Yeah, I was trying to see if there was any update, or we're still not. I just can't see it. I just would be. I think I'd actually probably. It feels like now, like it feels really like why would you activate him and not play him at this point? But
yeah.
I think it also depends on Ernie. Like what does your situation look like? Are you are you feeling like are you looking like you're going to win this week? Like are you playing somebody that where you just played against the nuclear game that we just had on Thursday? Like, because I think if you're wanting to play it safe, you just go with probably J.K. Dobbins or DeAndre Hopkins, and then just let Nico Collins play out, because the last thing you want is to get a 0 in this situation. And you have good enough options that you can pivot to. D-Hop concerns me just a little bit, mainly because of I don't know how. Like I know last week he played 46% of the snaps from the slot, but he only ran 63% of the routes. Though this was only his second game back, so there's possibility there. But anything on the outside, he's going to pretty much probably see exclusively Patrick Surtain. So like it's not necessarily the greatest matchup, but I think he can definitely get there. So maybe Dobbins probably makes a little more sense. Maybe that is what you do. Just kind of wait it out and see if we get any news. Oh yeah, I should be good. Started Burrow and starting Kyron, Mixon, Kupp, CD, and Kincaid.
Yeah, I think he'll be all right.
Yeah, then I would just wait it out. And then worst case scenario, if you have an alternate plan of somebody that you can drop, then just pick up Robert Woods if you have to, if Nico Collins doesn't play. So I think Robert Woods is probably the one that I would target. I would feel best about, unless Demarcus Robinson's available. I think those would be the two that I would look at the most, or Jonnu. I don't mind that if Tyreek Hill were to miss. But so other than that, I think that's the last question in here.
Time to go make some lineups.
Yeah, go set some DFS lineups. So that being said, hope everybody has a good week 10. Hopefully we get some clarity with some of these situations. Hope everybody runs pure this week. Hopefully we don't have a bunch of injuries because especially at the wide receiver position, because we can't stand many more of them.
No.
At this point, it's getting pretty wild out there in these streets. So either way, we'll be back tonight for the early look at waivers for this week, and back for the rest of our normal content for the rest of the week. So I hope everybody gets, like I said, has a good day, and we'll talk to you guys again tonight for the week 11 waivers. So season is absolutely flying by at this point. So keep it locked in here. We'll be back soon. Have a good rest of the day.